In this video, we will ask ourselves a couple of questions. Why? Why Saudi Arabia as one of the most disturbed form of organization? More precisely, a theocracy and a monarchy. We blended together and we have a theonarchy. Second question. Why the people that govern this place today are deranged? And of course, for the last, why your dad left you when you were 8 years old? Saudi Arabia is a young country, or more precisely, a young kingdom. It is in 2024 an absolute monarchy. This form of monarchy is not the virgin cosplay British one. No. It is the meth addict eating your flesh for a cigarette butt form of monarchy. The modern wonderland that is Saudi Arabia would not have been possible without two men in particular, Mohammed ibn Saud and Abdel al-Wahhab. Muhammad ibn Saud was the leader of some dudes that lived in the middle of the dunes. From what I briefly saw in Windbrand's book, A Brief History of Saudi Arabia, Ibn Saud was a petty leader of a couple of villages and probably some goats. For sure, history teaches that people with power rarely try to temper their power, because power is like my cock in a cemetery. It just wants to grow in front of all of these opportunities. Since nothing else made the Saud family stand out at this time, our future incel king had to gather support and legitimacy in his crusade for power. What better tool for gathering a large crowd of mentally challenged people but motivated people than religion? Then began the alliance with another vintage incel, Abdel Wahhab. From the Book of Windbrand, it is said that our kawaii little extremist learned the Quran by heart at the age of 10. Later in his life, he was recognized in his city for his uncompromising views on Islam and on the interpretation of the Quran. His daddy probably became proud of his little boy because once adult, Wahhab would hold view that would permanently change contemporary Islam. For example, this psychosis-induced dude believed, and I quote, please don't hurt me, all innovation as obstacle to returning Islam to its original and pure state, end quote. Round wheel? No. Wahhab sad. New engineering techniques? No. Wahhab mad. Subscription with ad? No. That's an abomination, and the only time I'll agree with Wahhab. I'm sure he was a pleasing guy to be around with, totally minding his own. Wait a minute, guys, please.
Fuck.
Probably minding his own fucking business without trying to moralize every aspect of his peer's life. Oops, no. He was banished from his city for his extremist views. Then, when his father died, he went to the town of Assa, but his view and his preaching were so annoying that one night, some worker went to Wahhab's house either to shut him up or kill him. Haha, what a loser! No one likes you, Wahhab! Disclaimer. I don't have the time, nor the will, to go through all the history of Islam and all its variants. I just want to say that the version of Islam we are familiar today is Wahhabism. It is not an accurate representation of what it always has been. Islam and its followers were, at a time, a beacon of science, art, and philosophy. We literally own them the number we use today. The middle-aged woman stoning simulator that is Saudi Arabia today, and his version of Islam was pushed and fought for quite recently in history by Abdel Wahhab and the Saud family back then. I will leave some text in the description if you are interested in the golden age of Islam. Now, let's get back to Wahhab. Here is other examples of Wahab being a lunatic asshole. In the village of Uyaina, the villagers considered a certain tree sacred. Of course, it pissed him off, so he cut the said tree. You know, a tree. This important natural resource that can be found everywhere in the desert. What an idiot! Furthermore, he went on his way to destroy an ancient tomb for the same mentally challenged ideas cited earlier. Nevertheless, the pinnacle of this fundamentalism debauchery was when Wahab sentenced a woman by stoning for adultery, sentence that was acted immediately. Because, you know, unlike trees, there's plenty of rocks in this fucking desert. But you have to understand that even at this time, when people learned what Wahab and his followers did, they had the same reaction as we have today. What the fuck, dude? That's fucked up. People were not okay with that. And by people, I mean peasants, as well as other lords, were appalled by this. Because throwing rocks at people until they die is like certified not cool. When you dedicate your life at being a schizophrenic sky-afraid idiot, sometime, somewhere, someone may not like you. And it's exactly what happened to Wahab. But unfortunately for future uterus owners, our little guy succeeded at sealing an alliance with a petty lord in the middle of the desert. And you guessed it, it's Mohammed ibn Saud! What was the relation between these two guys? We'll try to understand that. The only difference example between Wahab, Saud, me, and your mom is that our two main antagonists didn't make you a little brother. Other than that, it's a real bromance. But a bromance with condition. A brodition. A man's con or a mansion. Whatever. These two conditions were proposed by Saud and were the following. Wahab had to stay in Diriyah, the principal town of the Saud family, and he should not oppose taxation. Wahab agreed to the first one, of course, but not the second one, saying that, and I quote, the spoils of war undertaken by their cause would be far greater than what taxes would bring, end of quote. Well, he was goddamn right, since this new totally not rainbow bromance would let the first Saudi state came to this world, like an alien fetus who turned your belly out in a symphony of bone-cracking sound and fear-induced short breath while you desperately scream for help in an empty room, like my basement, where no sound nor you can escape. Anyway, yada yada, the Saudi lost 2 times the crown, what a bunch of losers, yada yada, regained and unificated the kingdom in 1932, and fast forward today, and here it is, Saudi Arabia. So, we answered the first question asked in the introduction. We know now why Saudi Arabia is a theonarchy. Ibn Saud, a petty leader in a desert, wanted more political power. Abdul Wahab was a religious fundamentalist who wanted more social power. They joined their forces together and they formed their own little prison. Was it prison? Kingdom. Yeah, kingdom. Now, we can answer the second question asked in this video, which was, why the people that govern Saudi Arabia today are... Why are the... What? Sorry. Why? Oh, okay, just that. Why are they the way that they are? And for those who paid attention, there was a third question. But if you don't remember it, go back to the introduction. I will not babysit you. Anyway, this question will be answered at the end of the video. Mohammed bin Salman is the heir and de facto new king, but not the king yet, but acting and ruling like the king, but he was not supposed to be king, but his king father made him deputy king or something like that, and after he was made officially the heir princely king of Saudi Arabia. When he was still a young picnic tablecloth, he did go to school, but his education was not always consistent due to him assisting his father. This reality made it difficult for him to make friends. And because of that, he didn't learn constraints from accommodating friends. Aww. Seems like every goddamn king to me, but whatever. With his father though, he learned valuable thing for a king. such as how to deal with factious tribal leaders and learning what princes were guilty of which indiscretion and... Wait a minute. Am I confusing with the historical context? No. We're in the 2010s. Oh, okay. Sorry, all of the talks about princes and tribal leaders, I don't believe that we were still in the Middle Age. Surely it's not a country stuck in the 1200s, right? Anyway, all this knowledge served him later to affirm his power against his royal relatives and subdued religious and tribal forces. Wait another minute, damn. I'm so sorry. Are we not talking about the 1200s? I'm so confused. No, it's not. Still the 2010s. Okay, still the 2010s. There is something I wanted to share with all of you. Something that can help you and him and me and you
and your friend Steve
relate to Salman. When he was younger, he grew extremely poor. His great-uncle, who was the king, refused to support his father at the same level his grandfather did. So, Salman saw his daddy in the lowest position a human can be. He saw him selling some lands to be able to take care of his family, but the worst part, his father was denied using his own plane and had to ask his other relatives to borrow their private jet instead. How can I criticize this guy? Personally, I never had to borrow a private jet from my family because the king, who happens to be my great-uncle, said so. But I know I would be devastated. If I can speak from my heart, like, just for a moment, I want to say that I literally would have changed my life with Salman to spare him this trauma. Does that make me a good person? Maybe, yes. Anyway, this tough background planted a seed in Salman, a seed of self-reliance. Being the black sheep, being the black goat of the family, he had to be self-reliant. So, he created companies from the ground up using his royal influence. Wait, what? It's not self-reliance at all. All of these struggles were not in vain though. With time, patience, and intimidation, he succeeded to become the first heir of the crown. Furthermore, like some real-life Game of Thrones simulator shit, once he had the de facto power in the kingdom, he organized not only a sweet revenge, but a lucrative one. In November 2017, he organized the arrests of nearly 300 people, which were mostly Saud family members, in the name of anti-corruption. He then forced them to stay in a temporary degrading prison that is the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Straight up Guantanamo Baying, Salman. I guess we can find in this happy bunch of Nepo baby the old King Chamberlain, the ex-National Guard chief Khaled Twajiri, whatever the fuck his name is, the billionaire Prince Walid bin Talal, and many more. This improvised party earned Salman, or should I say, earned the kingdom, more than $100 billion. How? Well, you see, since these people made his father's life miserable, he told the prisoners that if they wanted to be free, they had to sign a confession and let go a large part of their assets. A real moving and touching zero to hero story. But our homie has ambition. Our homie has something the rest of this family doesn't have. Our homie has a vision. A vision that you can learn about in part 2 of this video. Accessible here. Yeah, click on it or I'll kill your dog.